Does this 5x camera make the biggest, most expensive iPhone worth it? It's been almost a full year with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. I've used it in the mountains of North Carolina, trip to New York City, taken it to Los Angeles, and used this camera in many scenarios, including low light, capturing things in auditoriums, even a partial eclipse. So I'm going to talk through a bunch of photos and videos that I've taken with the 5x camera, and let's find out if it's worth it. During the iPhone 15 event last year, Apple announced the new 5x camera, but only on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now, to be honest, I'm a pro-size iPhone person. I don't really prefer the larger phone, fitting in the hand and all that, but I knew if there was any camera features specifically to the bigger size, I was going to jump to it. And that's exactly what happened. The iPhone 15 Pro has the 3x camera, a similar camera that we've had on the last several models, 77mm focal length, but only the iPhone 15 Pro Max has that longer 5x optical zoom, and Apple developed that brand new Tetra Prism design and 3D sensor shift for stabilization. That's a lot of jargon, but actually I have found that all of those features put together has made the 5x camera a huge win, and I use it all the time. So what have been some real-world examples? Well, we went to North Carolina on a hike and wanted to take some pictures of my family over by a waterfall. They were pretty far away, and as you can see in these photos, where I was standing versus the pictures that I could capture with the 5x camera was a huge difference. Also, my kids like to skateboard. We're at a lot of different skate parks, and being able to capture video and photos with that 5x camera, especially when it's bright, the video and picture quality looks amazing. And it may not sound like a huge difference from that 3x to 5x lens, but living with that 3x for multiple years and now having the 5x, I found it makes that big of a difference. My wife also plays flute in an orchestra, and so I'm in a lot of concerts and auditoriums where there's low light. And even in those environments, you could see these photos from where I was sitting versus the picture that I was able to capture. Listen, it's not mirrorless quality, and you get some crunchiness or pixelation, compression, whatever you want to call it, but it's actually still a decent picture. You can make out faces, and this is from almost the back of the auditorium. So in concerts, capturing my kids at skate parks, and when we've gone on trips, like we went to New York recently, and we were taking a ferry into Manhattan, and you could see the vantage point that we were on the ferry versus the picture I could capture of the Statue of Liberty. It was a big difference, and I loved being able to get that close, both in photo and video. Now, when it comes to fast-moving objects, the 5x camera, especially in low light, is going to struggle, but if you're outside, if you're in bright sunlight or even a cloudy day, anything outside with that 5x camera, it's going to look really good. And like I mentioned, not just for great photos, but I actually capture a lot of video using that 5x lens. Again, at the skate parks, being outside, that looks great, but even in those low-light auditoriums, my kids had a dance recital. My oldest son was actually doing some partnering in ballet, and I captured this video from the seats that were really far back in the auditorium with that 5x lens, capturing that video, and it is a great keepsake, being able to capture that from that far away, even in low light. Not to mention, I've used the iPhone 15 Pro Max in several vlogs over the past year. I did a tour of Apple Tower Theater. I'll link it above and down in the description, but all of the video there was captured with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And basically, any video that you see that's not here in the studio, like what you see right behind me, I've actually captured on the iPhone. That includes my Sonos Move 2 review, smart home tours around the house, all of that was captured with the iPhone. And the video quality from here, especially using apps like Kino to capture ProRes video, recording directly to an external SSD, really makes this an excellent camera. It has really obfuscated the need to take my mirrorless camera out of the studio. I could just leave this here and then use my iPhone everywhere else. Speaking of which, I actually had some accessories for recording ProRes video on iPhone that make it even easier. I'll link that video above and in the description, and also the SSDs down there as well. Number 4, not only can you get closer to subjects with the 5x camera, but it's actually great for portraits and getting a natural bokeh from photos. Because it has that 120mm equivalent focal length, you can actually get close to someone's face like a portrait, and that background is going to be blurred just by the nature of the zoom. You don't actually have to apply portrait mode, although you can, but having that natural blur is great, especially if you're outside or if it's sunny conditions. Good lighting does make a huge difference. When you get to lower lighting, and if you're trying to use that 5x camera to do portrait mode, you're going to lose some quality. But if you're outside trying to take a picture of people and you have plenty of light, 5x camera looks great. So, is it worth it to get the biggest, most expensive iPhone for that 5x camera? Well, when the iPhone 16 comes out this September, as you're watching this video, hopefully that 5x camera comes to the smaller Pro size phone. I prefer it when you have feature parity between the Pro and the Pro Max. This way you can literally just make a decision on size, not features. But if you take pictures on your phone, especially if you have kids or if you're in environments where your far away from the action. Maybe you go to a lot of concerts, or you're outside and do things on the water, or you do sports ball things. I think that 5x camera is really going to be worth it to get closer to the action. I know for me, if it's just on the Pro Max again when it comes to the iPhone 16, I'll probably go Pro Max again. Now I will say living a year with the Pro Max, I've gotten used to it for the most part. I've not experienced great battery life. I don't know if that's an iOS 17 thing or I'm just filming it all the time. And because I have that screen on just for lengthy periods of time, my battery health is 89%, and I got this 15 Pro Max on launch day. But you can see my cycle count is pretty high too. But I have like the larger screen for some things. The weight and size, my pinky definitely feels that. I do hold my phone in that kind of like pinky stability mode. I try to be in the habit of holding it like this, but then it just feels like it might fall out. So I think in the end, I do still prefer the smaller Pro size phone, but that 5x camera is going to be worth it, at least for me, if I have to go with a larger one for another year. One other hope when it comes to the iPhone, I do find the focal length on the main camera lens, you have to hold things just a little farther away than you used to with like the iPhone 13 and earlier. You can go into macro mode and then it uses the ultra wide camera and then you can get really close if you want, but I just wish the focal distance on the main lens that you could have subjects a little closer rather than having to kind of move it around there. Also, one other photography thing to try, obviously the Kino app for recording video, but also the makers of the Kino app, they also make Halide, that was their kind of first and main app. They've actually added a new mode in the Halide app. So if you tap on the RAW, you'll actually see process 0. When you're in this mode and take a picture using Halide, it will do a minimum amount of processing to that photo. Your iPhone does a lot of processing when you take a photo in the main camera app, and this process 0 mode is kind of cool. But again, overall, I have found the 5x lens on the iPhone 15 Pro Max more than worth it to deal with the size, and for the amount of pictures and videos that I've gotten from that lens specifically, I highly recommend. By the way, if you have a 15 Pro Max and you want to see the photos that you've taken specifically with that lens, you can actually create a smart album in the Photos app to filter just photos taken with that lens. Shout out to Mitchitime on Threads for actually helping me figure this out. But here in the Photos app, you can go up to File and then New Smart Album. We can choose 5x lens, go to Camera Model, then you can specify the iPhone 15 Pro Max as the camera model. And then for the second conditional, choose Focal Length is, and then you can look for that 1566. And this will give you all the photos you've taken with that 5x lens on your 15 Pro Max. So that is my 1 year review of the 5x camera on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. 2 thumbs up from me. I do think it's worth it. I'll be going with whatever phone has that 5x in the iPhone 16. If there's an option for a smaller Pro and 5x, I might go with that this year, but we'll see. I'll let you know. So subscribe to the channel right here. I'm going to be doing a review of that iPhone and highlighting all of the apps and widgets that get updated for iOS 18. So subscribe, hit that bell icon, hit the like button. If you have any questions, leave comments below this video. And if you want to see all the new features coming to iOS 18 this fall, check out this video right up here. And I also have a video on all the home screen customizations you can do with iOS 18, like widgets in the control center, tinting your icons, and some third-party widgets that make it look really cool. You can check out my ultimate guide to home screen design in iOS 18 right up here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.